One of the videos that have a link to my site is basically one that says that having faith, to have faith is to be stupid. But to not have faith, to be a heretic, is to be without hope, is to give rise to ideas and ideologies that will lead to tyranny, totalitarianism, murder, and all of the brutality that man can place upon man. For if there is no God, there is no reason to be moral, no reason to be just, no reason to be fair. And even if people say, well, you need to do that just to get along because you have to survive better, if you're very powerful, you don't need to get along. People got to get along with you. If you're very powerful, you can do what you want. And in fact, most tyrants just do that. They do what they want because they don't believe in God and they don't believe that they have to be fair. Fairness only makes sense if you believe. If you don't believe, fairness has to get thrown out of the window. So all the doctrines about being fair, about being nice, if you throw out God, you can throw those out as well. But let's address this accusation. People of faith are simpletons because they believe fairy tales. First of all of us have the same brain as you atheists out there. And we have the same inquisitive minds and same questions. We don't accept everything at face value. So why is it that people like myself decide to believe in a system that claims a creator and that claims that God communicated with certain people and did certain things that sound just like fairy tales? The answer is logic and experience, not the faith that represents somebody that can be easily misled or easily duped. All of us, at one point or another, have either come to the conclusion that there has to be a God and that God must have entrusted some special information to certain people and examine and try to find out where those special people are or were. Many of us discovered that there was a great man by the name of Rabbi Schneerson, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, who had not just incredible faith, but incredible knowledge, and more than that, appeared to have the awareness of God with him. And many of us realized at that moment that if there exists such a person today, then there existed one like that last generation, generation before that, all the way to Moses. And that's what we believed. Simple faith does not mean being a gullible simpleton, because faith is based upon tradition, logic, witnesses, and faith stands up to the test of time. That's how the Jewish faith is studied, and that's what it's based upon. We have a tradition, 3,700 years, 3,800 years of tradition, an unbroken chain from teacher to student. There were witnesses that said they saw the giving of the Torah. If the witnesses hadn't seen that, the tradition would not have gone on. People would not have accepted this tradition. It was not foisted upon the people by some evil priests, and the people just accepted, because if they had never heard from their parents that God came down on Mount Sinai, they would not have accepted the words of the priests or the words of the rabbis. And that has to be married with logic. The understanding of the commandments has to have some kind of foundation in human understanding. It has to either explain how things exist in the nitty-gritty, in the inside of the world. The teachings have to give us an insight as to how we should conduct our lives and deal with others, an insight as to what the purpose of life is. And it has to stand up to the test of time. The Torah has been tested by many different kinds of skeptics, starting with the Egyptians. And if the teachings of the Torah were found to be relevant, not just 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago, but even in this generation, we found that the teachings of the Torah are relevant to us. We, therefore, have faith, but not based upon faith that is the faith of the simpleton. It's the faith that's developed by an understanding and appreciation that there are things greater than ourselves. If you can answer 99% of the questions, then you have the faith that the other 1% will be answered. I've had the privilege of asking questions and having them answered and meeting people of letters, and meeting people of great faith who have accomplished great deals in their fields, and were nonetheless, they looked like me or looked even more pious than I. Included among them Professor Paul C. Rosenblum, mathematics, Columbia University. Much of his career he was cited for his excellent work in mathematics and his creative ability. Professor A.M. Hassifer, University of New South Wales, he just recently died. Statistics, one of the greatest statisticians in the world. Professor Yaakov Brower, Jim Brower, Neurology, University of McGill, one of the greatest in his field. My colleague, a friend, student, Professor Shlomo Sobolovsky, Statistics in Wayne State University, and some others, many others. Over the course of time, I've met people of great letters who also have great faith. The reason for their faith is varied, but it all converges on the same concept. They've examined, they've investigated, and to the best of their abilities. The Bible, as it's taught by the rabbis, is the most consistent and the most probable place through which God has communicated God's will to mankind. Being a man of faith does not mean to be simpleton, does not mean to be duped. On the contrary, we have hope, we have insight, we have patience, we have everything the atheist lacks.